This event is called is for everyone who is interested in becoming a physical therapist or has an interest in one way or another about the PT career. We are introducing first year UCSF DPT students. And this is just a bit of an introduction. Our club is called Exercises Medicine at SF State. So our club is under the direction of the American College of Sports Medicine, or ACSM, if you guys might have heard of that before. And basically our goal is to promote health and physical activity on campus and of course also within our community. So before we get started on the introductions, we would first like to talk more about the Doctor of Physical Therapy program at UCSF. It is a 3-year joint program between UCSF and SFSU, the joint program. It is a 34 weeks of full-time clinical affiliations, and by the time graduates finish their program, they are ready for the national licensing exam and are considered top applicants for PT practice. Basically, the mission of the graduate program in physical therapy is to develop collaborative professionals in physical therapy practice, education, social responsibility, and discovery and translation of science to improve health. For program statistics, we have a 99% average graduation rate for class of 2018 and 2019. Pretty much everything here, as you can see, is a very, very high rating for employment, for licensure exam pass rate. So really good numbers that we're looking at here. So if you're interested in going into PT, UCSF might be one of your top choices up there. Required courses for undergraduate students. We have your general science courses, chemistry, physics, anatomy, microbiome, abnormal stats, statistics, and highly recommended prerequisites to be more competitive. You have organic chemistry, neurosciences, exercise phys, motor learning, biomedical ethics, as well as motor development or developmental psychology. So again, the big question here is, are you interested in becoming a physical therapist? I assume a lot of the students here right now have a lot of interest in it or planning to go through it, or maybe have already gotten to a program and are just wanting to get more information from our first year UCSF DPT students. And for now, I'll start with my introduction for myself. My name is Casey Henson. I am one of the co-founders of Exercises Medicine, and I'm currently the secretary of the club. We're gonna do a popcorn style of introduction, so we'll pass along. So for the next introduction, I wanna pass it along to one of the co-founders of Exercises Medicine, which is Liam. Liam, you wanna introduce yourself?
Hi, so I'm Liam, actually the current president of Exercises Medicine, and like Casey, I'm also a senior at SF State, also want to do physical therapy, of course, and just happy that you all are here. I want to pop from to Fernando.
Hey everybody, Fernando, SBT first year. Me and Desiree kind of helped organize this. Or no, we helped coordinate us for the EIM event here. It's really nice to see each and every one of you. We're gonna be playing more of a moderating role too, so that we get a sense of a widespread perception of opinions and experiences throughout this whole program. And we look forward to talking to you. And then I'll popcorn it to Des.
Hey everyone, my name is Des. I am also a first year student physical therapist at our program here at SF State and UCSF. I am one of the co-presidents for our cohort along with Fernando. And so if anyone has any questions about leadership, we can go ahead and hear those, but we would love to showcase our wonderful panelists here. And I'll go ahead and popcorn really quickly to them. I'll go ahead and start off with Zach, and these are our panelists for tonight.
All right, hi, my name is Zach. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the vice president for our cohort, so I can also answer questions about student government if that's something that you are interested in. Yeah, first year student, love it. I don't have much else to say after that. Okay.
He didn't popcorn to anyone, but I'll take it. My name is Elizabeth. I'm also a first year. I am in student government, but it's not so much of a leadership role. I'm the APTA rep alongside another classmate. So if you want to be involved, you don't necessarily want to be a leader, I can answer questions about that. And yeah, I'll popcorn to JC.
What's up, everyone? My name's JC. It doesn't stand for anything. I am a first-year DPT student, as all of my colleagues here are as well. I'm also in student governments. I'm the historian. I am also interested in the pediatric population, so you can catch me in anything that literally involves peds. And if you're like interested in kind of understanding like how that works. Other than that, I guess that's it. I'll popcorn over to Zerrick.
All right, hello everyone. I'm also a first year physical therapy student. Unfortunately, I am not in student government, but I have plenty of other ways and ideas to stay busy in PT school. I'd say like at the moment, my interests are in ortho, but I've had some like inpatient experience and like cardiac rehab. So if you have any other ideas or questions, you know, feel free to ask. From there, I'll pass it off to Shae.
Hey guys, my name is Shae. I am not in student government, but I'm also really interested in maybe pelvic floor, some neuro. But yeah, and I'll popcorn this over to Michael.
Hey, how's it going? I'm also a first year DPT student, not involved in student government, but as a very non-traditional student with children, I'll answer any other outside questions that you may have if you are older and returning to school, or any general questions about transferring from SFSU to this program, as that is my alma mater. And is there anybody left to popcorn to, or is that everybody?
No, Michael, I think you are closing out in terms of our panelists, so I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Casey.
All right, thank you guys so much for the awesome introductions. It's so great seeing all these students that will be helping us out for today, especially from like a lot of us, I think, who are graduating. This is gonna be super helpful. So we're gonna move on now to our questions. And for each question, we would ask probably about 3 to 4 of our SPTs to answer it. And please use the raise hand function. And from there, we would just go off of who raise their hands first and go along the line, just so we avoid any interruptions. So for our first question is how was the application process for you? And what made you decide to apply to UCSF? Let's see, who do we have? Anyone want to take a hit at it? Raise your hands. Looks like we have Zerrick first, and then followed by Zach. Okay, Zerrick, why don't you go start us off?
I will say, in all honesty, the application process is rough. Reason being is there's a lot of things you have to stay on top of. And like little minute things, like I didn't get into one school because I forgot to submit a supplemental fee. So lesson learned, stay on top of your deadlines. And like all the little smaller things that you can find on like the PTCAS website. Stay in contact with people, definitely. What made me apply to UCSF? I would like to stay in California. If you look at USA News, this is the #1 public school in like the country. Other private schools, but this school has a lot more opportunities. And then a year ago, when I was in your shoes, I came to UCSF SFSU for their like information panel, and I got to meet with a couple of students like what we're doing today. And they really kind of highlighted the perks about this program and the faculty and all the benefits that comes with it. So long story short, this is definitely the one you want to be at. So, Zach.
I think for next one, thank you so much for that. Sorry, what was your name again? Oh, goodness, I forgot. The one who just answered. I guess we can move on to Zach for our next one.
Yeah, Zerrick answered a lot of really good points there. So for me, the application process, I will reiterate, it's tough. It's and it's doable. So my time here is preceded by 2 application cycles. So I'm not straight out of undergrad. This is my second time applying. that's common. I don't know where I got the idea into my head that it wasn't, because I saw it happening to a lot of people. But after talking to others, I realized that, you know, applying more than once is okay. It's normal, and it certainly doesn't reflect on your ability as an applicant. It's a competitive world. Why did I apply? But beyond that, the application process was definitely just several months of essay writing, torture, and getting other friends and families to really build a support network around and help push me towards this wonderful goal that I'm now living out. What made me apply to UCSF? This is going to be a real space for total honesty. Not my first choice of a school in hindsight. In hindsight, it is my first choice of a school. At the time, I thought I wanted to go somewhere based on location. I was kind of having to consider a lot of other factors in my life, the more personal factors about where I wanted to go, and didn't get in where I wanted to. And so my next choice was here at UCSF, and by far one of the best decisions that I've ever made, or was made for me. And it's a fantastic program. There's fantastic faculty. The one thing that I always note about UCSF is their ability to choose a cohort of people that are just phenomenal. I mean, you have several people around you right now who are willing to come out and speak to you. And I think that already speaks volumes about who comes to this program. I want to note too that, you know, this is a partnered program. This isn't just UCSF, it's SFS State too. And they really bring a lot of awareness and social justice and things that they incorporate into their curriculum that instantly was a positive for me. So the San Francisco state side of things as well is huge. It's important. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very informative. I think the application process is something that scares a lot of students, like especially like what happens if you don't get in your first time and you have to apply second time. You know, I feel like that's a lot of things that we all think about. Like for me, I'm gonna start applying pretty much this next cycle, so I'm pretty terrified at how the application process is gonna go through. All right, so next we have Shae, and then last Michael. Okay, Shae, can you start us off?
All right. Hey guys. Yeah, the process for me took a minute. I graduated 2017. So I took my gap year turned into 3 years. But yeah, I would say just like definitely make sure that you have your prereqs in. I started early. I was like, I think they started in like July, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna just start this up. And it still took me like a lot longer than I thought it was gonna take. But yeah, it took a minute, but I think it was worth it. I feel like it's nice that they have everything very like central in the application process, but it's a blur. There was a lot of essays to write. I remember UC for sure, UC and State there's like a personal statement that you had to do, but I know they have supplementals for UC and State. So, just get ready for that. And what made me apply to UCSF? To be honest, like I was in Southern California basically like my whole life. I basically grew up in LA, went to school in San Diego, and I wanted to be up north and stay in California and support like the UC State system, public, universe. So yeah, and then I think I would just watch like a YouTube video on like PT interview tips, and I think one of them was like a UCSF like panel, and I was like, all right, I could see myself like fitting in here for sure. I really just like the, I don't know, just the cohort vibes. It's like a real community now. So yep, really happy with my decision.
Awesome, thank you so much, Shae. All right, and then last but not least, we have Michael.
Yeah, I think just to maybe expand on what made me apply to UCSF as a SFSU grad, and speak to some of the things that Zach touched on as far as just being a very diverse program, a very open and socially aware program. And I think deciding, not only where you want to go to school, but who you want to be as a practitioner, as a physical therapist, and what communities you want to serve. I thought UCSF supplied a really great experience with, you know, a diversity and environment that I didn't see parallels to across the board. Having said that, obviously you look at, I'm a huge proponent of public school as well. So I think that was a big selling piece for me. But I think UCSF really drives home this cultural and social awareness that I think will just naturally make us all better practitioners and just more caring people in general.
Yeah, definitely. Like, there's so many good points made there. Really loved listening to that. Thank you so much, Michael. So we're going to move on now to our second question, and I'll have Liam start us off.
All right, so for the second question is, what is it like to be a first-year DPT student and learn virtually?
Let's see those hands. Oh, we already got a couple. I think the first one we have is Elizabeth and then JC.
All right, I'll be quick to give my fellow panelists some more time. It is hard. It is very difficult. I'm not gonna lie to you, but like everyone said before about like why they chose UCSF, it's because it hasn't been terrible because my cohort is so great and our staff and faculty really, really legitimately care so deeply about our learning and our understanding. I can't tell you how many professors I have been talking to them and asking questions after class, and I just like break down bawling in front of them, and they actually care and really help you along and push you, and they will work so hard with you outside of class to get you back on track and where you need to be. Learning virtually, at first it was terrible, and actually now it's kind of cool because 7 a.m. classes, I don't have to be anywhere at 7 a.m. except right here, and that's my bed right there. So I get to wake up at 6:30 and take a whole 30 minutes to get ready for class, which is awesome. So while it's really difficult, there have been some upsides to it, which is bonding deeper with your cohorts, and you have to really work hard to want this and to make it work. So I feel like we're going to be really, really good clinicians because we've pushed through so much here. But yeah, take it away, JC.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. Yes, this is very difficult virtually because we're such like a hands-on profession. So it made it really, really hard, especially I'm living at home. I'm from the city. So basically like if I see peers at like student housing, stuff like that, then it's kind of like they're not just like a walk away, you know. I guess I consider myself a little bit more lucky just because I live like kind of close, but yeah, especially like practicing like those hands-on skills, you definitely have to like put a lot more effort because you don't have that lab time at school, you know. Can also, I guess, like on the topic of lab time, they do have like week-long intensives, and that's kind of like what they're doing right now in order for us. So they kind of like front load, okay, this is the information you know, and then during that intensive week, it's like, boom, let's practice this special test. Boom, let's practice that manual muscle test, you know? And so they're, by that, I guess it's kind of nice because you can kind of have like a little bit time to like practice before you actually go in and like work on the stuff. But it's definitely less convenient than being at school. Also, another thing that I wanted to touch upon was how sometimes it's hard because you lose, I don't know, I feel like sometimes you lose sight of your end goal when all you're doing is just staring at a screen all day. And when we like as PTs, like we want to talk to people, we want to like, I don't know, like I want to see how far I can stretch your arm, you know, but like we can't do that. But I think that the program does incorporate some opportunities to just like interact with people. Like me and Zerrick, we're about to go on we have like little 2-day clinicals where we can go in the clinic and follow around like a clinical instructor, and they show us around. And then after that, then I'm like, wow, I'm so motivated again, you know? So UCSF SFSU kind of has like those like little experiences that kind of like reignite the passion from like learning virtually and like sitting in front of a computer all day, you know. But also another thing that kind of like helped, I guess, spark passion again is just being involved with the community. And I think that because UCSF is such like an interprofessional school, there's a lot of opportunities to talk to people in other healthcare professions. I don't know if you guys heard that, but someone sneezed in my background. So sorry. But yeah, there's like a lot of opportunities to like talk to other healthcare professions. There's opportunities to reach out to like schools like this, for example, you know, and this kind of like helps reignite, you know, that drive and motivation, you know. So that's all I have to say in regards to that point. So I'll go ahead and pass it on. Well, I guess no one has their hand up, so.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, hearing about like the virtual experience, I know it's pretty rough being in such a, you know, learning about such a hands-on profession and not really having that opportunity to interact with patients. So there's definitely limitations, but it's also refreshing to hear that there are also kind of benefits to it. We have room, I guess, for if anyone wants to, one or two more students if you want. And I was also thinking, do any of the students have any idea whether the method of teaching and like this virtual experience, is it going to be the same for the next cohort, or are there going to be modifications, or are there going to be more in-person meetings? Does anyone have any idea about that?
Casey, I can speak to that. Word on the street is that the first years who are coming in, class of 2024, are going to have a little bit of a different format, because I think the program is starting to realize that maybe the week-long intensives might be a little bit too spaced out in terms of when you get to practice your skills. And so I think the plan is for them to do weekly labs. I think it's 1 day a week. I don't know how often that's going to be, but that was word that we got from another panel that we're going to be doing with some of our future, or I guess our future cohort that's coming in. And so I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to be carried over to the other cohorts, but that is something that they're looking at least for the summer. So that's a little bit of an update that we do have.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that's good to hear that they're probably going to have some changes going on within, especially with the next couple of years. So it looks like we do not have any more for that question. So we're going to move on ahead to our next question, which is, as for your first year as a TPT student, has there been any fun concepts and techniques, lessons that you've learned that you want to share with our colleagues here at SF State to spark some interest? Come on, you guys, let's raise those hands. All right, so looks like we have Zerrick and followed by Elizabeth.
I was waiting for somebody. I didn't want to be the first one to go, but you know, did you know that your joints roll and glide? Like that took me a second to understand. So I think that's pretty interesting. Another thing is that like in our first year, we're not done with our first year, by the way, but in the time since we started school, we've learned a lot about like, okay, I worked at a clinic and I would always be wondering, what is this therapist doing with their hands? Like, what is going on behind their head? Or like, what is this therapist like doing when he's pushing on this person? And in like the 8 months we've been in school, we've learned a lot about like, what is this manual therapy thing that they're always talking about? So that's something that's really like stuck with me and like kept me going, at least learning here virtually, which I'll also repeat is not impossible. I feel like we've learned a lot in this time.
The roll and glide one, that was interesting. I think that sparked a lot of laughter too, and in the chat too. Elizabeth was like, more on arthrokinematics, please, Zerrick. So very interesting points there. Definitely about looking at physical therapists and how they, use like manual therapy. I've have some experience with working with physical therapists at a PT clinic. So observing that has been very interesting. I don't know exactly what's happening. Well, exactly like what kind of movements they're doing, or like the amount of pressure that they're working on when they're applying like on certain joints. I've only been able to see it, haven't been actually like in depth been able to learn about it. So some learning about that is going to be very interesting. Next one, we have Elizabeth and then Zach.
Okay, I laughed really hard at Zerrick's did you know fact, but mine is also a did you know fact that like really blew my mind for no good reason at all. Your bones are a living, breathing organ. And I know I think it's great. I think it's so cool. I love bones. I could talk about them all day, every day. And they're connected to every single muscle in your body. Like this bone right here, your humerus, not just connected to the arm muscles. It's connected to every single muscle from your head to your toes. Yes, I will tell you more about bones, Dr. Z. And they're connected to each other by something called fascia. And there's a real good joke going around in our cohort right now, created by, was it Dr. Lewis or was it Amber? Anyways, instead of fascinating, we say fascinating, because fascia connects literally everything in your body. There's one fascia, it's all connected. And that's actually really, really cool for movement science, because if you have an adhesion or a problem in your shoulder, that can affect you and create pain all the way down the chain through your low back, hip, and ankle. And it can work the other way too. So your bones are alive, they're wet, living, and breathing, and that's fascinating. Next.
Wow. Okay. The fascinating thing is new to me. Like I must have like spaced out during class whenever that happened. So I'm learning just as much as you all are. Mine is not a did you know. I will spare you this time around. But mine was more, some background noise. So your first year is just jam-packed with a ton of stuff because you are getting ready for your first clinical experience, which for us is happening in a couple months, less than a couple months. And what I found really cool was that at some point, something just clicks where you're like, wow, if a patient came in with this diagnosis and this problem, I now know and have all the tools necessary to help them get better. It's real time. You're learning the skills that you're just going to use for the rest of your career. And it's happening from the very start here in your first year. It's not all the knowledge comes pouring in right when you finish your 3 years. It's happening right now. And so learning about that stuff and connecting that to real life practice has been a pretty great part of our first year.
Awesome. Fascinating points, everyone. I think we have, see, now I'm going to start using that. I'm going to start hating myself for using it. Just kidding. All right. We have one more. Let's move it on to JC.
Okay, so I think mine is kind of cheesy and mushy and gross, but this is a testament to how amazing our faculty is. So I think that going into PT school, there is a lot of, I have to get this perfect. And if it's not perfect, then it's, it's not good enough, but something that one of our professors taught me and told the whole class that will forever stick with me throughout the rest of my life is, you're not gonna know everything, but you do know a lot. And shout outs to Dr. Linda Wanek. And yeah, I guess that like really stood out to me just because, there is so much that you learn in PT school. It is a lot. Like you thought your life was hard, now it's gonna get harder. And so I guess there's so much information, but as long as you keep it up, you keep going and you continue with a growth mindset, you know, it will be good enough, you know, and then you're learning along the way, and then you are in school to learn. So, you know, like in undergrad, it's kind of like, I got to beat the curve. It's not like that here, you know, it's like, we're all here to help each other learn. We're all here to like support each other and be good PTs. Because at the end of the day, like, we just want to do our job right, and we want to do our job well and with excellence. And so I think that I guess that's it. I don't want to ramble anymore. I guess that's it. So yeah, the end.
So thank you so much for that. I think a lot of us, when, you know, the thought of graduate school, or like anything like PT, doctors, nursing, there's always that thought of, oh, I need to be competitive. I need to be the best as I can be. And then that's a lot of pressure for us to undertake. So hearing that, you know, especially in PT school, where that pressure, even though you do learn a lot, then it's a lot of information and you're probably going to be stressed, that there's not as that much pressure of that you have to be always to be like the best and like beat everyone else. So thank you so much for that. Okay, so moving on, Liam, do you want to ask our next question?
Sure. So next one is a little bit more serious, but I think it warrants to be asked, especially during these times. So what has COVID-19 taught you in terms of managing mental health and personal relationships? Ooh, tough.
A few hands already. So we have Michael and then Zach.
Yeah, I don't mind starting this tough one off. I actually read this on the slides earlier, and I thought, what a great question, and what a great way to kind of reflect on the last year. As far as I think what it's taught me in terms of managing mental health, it's taught me kind of a way to naturally decelerate or slow things down. For my first career, I should say, was as a cook. So I think I've always been moving at 100 miles an hour. And as soon as it hit, all of a sudden you just couldn't do anything. And you were kind of in your thoughts. And I think it taught me to really appreciate that time and really take that time to enjoy what's going on. And then as far as personal relationships, it's been tough to have a family of 4, 3 generations in the same house. But I will say it's also taught me a profound level of appreciation for everybody's role in our family. And then to extrapolate that further, I think you can think about everybody's role in a community in a similar way, and appreciate what everybody brings to the table. And then appreciate the same for, you know, for the panel here, for our cohort. And I think Elizabeth spoke to this earlier as well, as just the support that we've poured out for each other in these challenging times has been unlike any time in my life. So I'll pass that on.
Wonderful. And, you know, we're pretty lucky to have Michael as a part of this cohort too, because he brings in a lot of perspective and superhuman powers, being a dad and doing all this crazy school stuff. So I'll talk a little bit about, I've I read this question too beforehand, and I was like, oh, that's 2 or 3 stories right there that I could probably speak to. During COVID-19, I think it goes without saying, but just that is just a huge burden and energy sucker in itself. And we carry that burden with us every single day that COVID-19 is thought about, acted on, what have you. And to then do graduate school on top of that, it's tough. I've definitely, through just even the past year, been discovering anxiety and ADHD and depression and all that stuff, and going through journeys of figuring out mental health and navigating those personal relationships, because COVID-19 kind of warranted that. You know, when you're sitting in your room in a nice square box for 10 hours of the day, you're left with your thoughts a lot. And I joke, a lot about it, but it's very quickly taught me how to build resiliency through a lot of this, but then most importantly, asking for help, asking for support. And there is always more to be asked for, and it's okay to ask. I've seen professors move mountains to make sure that students were accommodated, retaking finals, pushing back deadlines, just checking in with you. And that's just within the program. And then, UCSF and SFSU as a whole even just provide a even larger wealth of resources that are willing to go above and beyond to make sure that you get the job, you get your needs met and you meet your goals. And that's totally normal, totally valid process. Yeah.
Yep, key terms there. Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's been rough, it's hard to imagine that it's been a year. We've been going through this for a year, so it's been tough. But yeah, always remember that there are always people there to help you. And for our last one, I think we have Shae.
Thank you, Michael and Zach, for starting that off. But yeah, I think they covered a lot of it, but really, I feel like it's okay to be vulnerable or ask for help. I would definitely say you really need an outlet or like something to really distract you from everything. Like, and if you don't feel like you have that or like can find that, I would honestly just say, talk to your doctor, talk to somebody else. If you don't, want your friends to know, your family to know, there's always going to be like another resource. At least with like UC, we had like our advisor or like a professor, or we even have Peggy Ryan. She's like a learning specialist that you could also talk to her. You have a clinical educator if you don't want to talk to like anybody else that so like, I feel like really just asking for it and just trying to find a way to not think about school so much. Like, I feel like getting to UCSF, it was like a checklist of things you like have to do. And now that like we're here, it's like, I feel like you really have to put yourself first. It's like a pay now, pay later. And then for personal relationships, I think really like this cohort has been like a saving grace. Like summer was such a rough time because it was all just remote learning. But once we actually got to like the lab intensives and like people were like people, like when I first like got into my lab room, I'm like, oh my God, you guys are like real, I feel like I was like a Sims character, like living like a double life. But yeah, I feel like just like reaching out, even if it's as little as you want it to be, as much as you want it to be, as little or as much as you want to participate. I feel like it's great to know that the cohort's there for you. Like, people just have different ways of dealing with things, but I think just really reaching out to your cohort too has taught me a lot. So thank you guys.
Awesome. Thank you guys for all that amazing advice and support. Okay, so before we move into our last question here, so after that, we will have an open forum for any of our students here at SF State or any other students from our colleague who want to ask questions. So start thinking about that. If there are any questions that you want to ask after this, just type it in the chat after this. So for our last question, very general one, just for everybody here, is what advice would you give to anyone here who is aspiring to be a DPT student? See those hands, come on. I know everybody has advice. Okay, so we have Elizabeth, Zerrick, and then JC.
All right, hello. My number one advice has already been touched on a couple times in here, and that is to kill the competition inside of you. I mean, it's really competitive to get into school, and you got to be competitive about that, but you've already done the work to get there. You have the grades, you're doing the applications. Once you're in, all that's over. You are on even playing ground, and we have people in our cohort from psych backgrounds, bio backgrounds, kines backgrounds. Maybe we have a music background. We have people who are like just now entering like the medical side of STEM. And so we're all even here, and we all want to be clinicians. We all want to be here for the same reasons, is to help people, to create movement and get people back to what they want to do, and then even more so. So kill the competition inside of you, and also remember why you're doing this. It's not just so you can put a doctor in front of your name, even though that's really cool and you deserve it. You need to remember what you're doing this for, who you're doing this for, and why. It's for your community and for everybody out there. And it can be for yourself, but that can't be the only reason. So just feel those feelings too. Like, we're known as the mushy cohort because we're all really emotional with each other. And honestly, I think it's really great. And it's something that we're going to carry into our practice because it's a collaborative practice. Like, the clinic I worked at, PTs all the time had been doing it for 30 years, but they'd still have a complicated eval and go to their coworker and say, hey, so like, kind of, what do you think about this? And you don't see that a lot in the medical field. So yes, Shae, I'm absolutely a simp for you guys too. So just don't forget why you're here. And please, I cannot emphasize enough, kill the competition inside of yourself, build each other up.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And then we have JC next.
I didn't know if Zerrick did you want to. Okay, I guess I'll just go. I think my advice, would be more towards the application process. For the applications, I think my biggest advice for you would to be to know yourself and know your story. Throughout you and your journey and like you just accumulating experiences, like for example, those of you who are like involved in this club, you know, think about like what it means to you. How did it like affect your life? And how do these experiences contribute to the person you are? Does emphasis on knowing your story, like not what like you think the admissions committee wants to hear. But just being cognizant of like what the experiences that you accumulate, what they mean to you. And that will just do wonders for like essay writing, interviews, stuff like that. I don't know, start a journal. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I have to say. All right, Zerrick, what do you got?
I'm just gonna underscore that because I completely agree. Like, when I was volunteering, I wrote my personal statement for UCSF and I showed it to my volunteer leader. And she said, that's cool. You want to help people. That's awesome. Everybody does. So what does that mean to you? And I was thinking, you have to dive a little bit deeper. It's like, what kind of impact are you going to have on this person's life? And like, how is that going to impact your life? What is that going to get them back to? Like, being in PT is more than just helping people get them back to what they want to do and make them stronger. It's like, why? So that's my advice with the essay thing. My second advice, I'm gonna like reiterate, have a plan. So, if you're like myself and you didn't get in the first time, don't just sit around that year of, you know, when you're in between like your cycles. Figure out why are you applying again? Like, how can you improve? Instead of being, let's not be competitive and all of that, but like, where can you improve and where do you have more things to learn? Whether it's like you want to go retake classes, why are you retaking those classes to get to be a PT? Like, what's your end goal? What do you see yourself doing in the future? So have a plan, long story short.
Awesome. Thank you guys for the amazing advices. Do we have anyone else who wants to give out any advice to any of our students here? Nope, I think we are good. So moving on now, we have our open question and answer. So for many of our students here at the Kin department or any other department, if you have any questions for any of our DPT students, please just type them in and we'll see who can answer it. Anyone?
Chelsea has a question, Casey.
Chelsea, let's see. All right, so this is just for anyone who wants to answer. How many schools did you apply to and how many is considered too many? So let's see. Elizabeth, can you start us off?
Yeah, hi. I applied to a ton, and I'm here to tell you that I think I applied to too many. I applied to 10 schools, and I would not recommend that. I think you should apply to several. I think 5 is a really good starting number. 5 to 7 is a very good plan. If you're applying to 10 or more, it's time to narrow that down and really figure out where you want to go, just because you're not going to have enough time. And you need to, you're just not, like, this process is too long. So research the schools you want to go to, have like a little table comparing them, like which prereqs need what, how much it costs, and email like the admissions director and ask about their program, because that'll help you narrow it down, because you don't want to waste your time or your money on a program you don't want to go to. And people will talk to you. Like, you can get in now, you can actually attend Zoom classes. We had someone attend one of our anatomy classes just to see what it's like. Since we're virtual now, there's a lot more space to explore, like, from your room. So there's a lot of questions. I'm going to pass it off.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, we have quite several questions here. We'll go through about 3 or 4 more of them.
Sorry to interrupt, but I don't mind answering some questions in the chat too.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
Cool.
so go ahead. Let's see, chat. Next question we had was, what is tuition like compared to your undergrad years?
I will just be very blunt with that one, and it is more than your undergrad. It'll vary depending on the school that you go to, but it's definitely more. This is certainly student loans are definitely involved. That can be a very scary thing, and that I will cycle back to the talk of use your resources that are available. The financial aid office here is phenomenal, and they have resources to help you prior to taking out loans, during student loans, and after, when you're trying to pay them back too. And they've got support all along the way.
I'll talk about the money thing too, because I was talking to some of my family members I was comparing like a private school versus like a public school. And what I left with that conversation with my family members is that it's something to consider, because you're gonna have to pay this back. And if you have a very outstanding student loan debt, that could like put you back from like having a mortgage and owning a home. So just consider the whole picture, when you're looking at the schools you want to look at.
Thank you. Right, sorry. I'm going through the chat right now. Just quite a lot of questions we're having. I know Fernando's also answering some of them, so I'll see which ones we can see.
I could speak to one question in the chat that talks about experience hours during undergrad. I think that's a really valid question. And I think it's asking how you got your hours. And obviously there's some cold calling involved, kind of putting yourself out there. And you kind of pick clinics, and to some degree, you're just hoping that a clinic will take you so you can get those very valuable inpatient and outpatient hours. And I think the most important thing is to think about a diversity in experience. So not getting all your hours at just one outpatient clinic and then throwing a dart at a few, but also thinking about your areas of interest. Start to narrow those down right away. I thought I might be pediatrics, so I did some hours at California Children's Services. I looked at geriatrics as well, so I did some hours out in Calistoga that focused on an older population. And I thought about working on a larger team in a big hospital, and so you kind of look at like a Kaiser or a Sutter system at that point. So to think about not just getting your experience or getting your hours to fill out that application, but to start to Zerrick's point, have a plan and think about where it is you want to be when you graduate. What communities do you want to help, and what demographics, what populations do you see yourself working with and really enjoying?
Thank you so much. Let's see. Let's try to get 2 more questions here. A lot of the DPT students are also answering it, but someone here asked, do you guys recommend masters? Right now, I don't have the greatest chance, especially for UCSF, and I definitely need to take time off to get situated. What do you guys think about that one?
Can I ask for clarification on that question? Like a master's to apply to DPT?
I guess they're asking if, correct me if I'm wrong, if you recommend getting a master's degree first before going into a DPT program.
Zerrick, I saw you unmute. Did you want to take that one?
I know you're gonna like support me here, so I'm gonna say, why do you want a master's? What is that gonna do to help you be a PT? And I'm like being serious, like, what's the end goal with the master's degree? And there's some people in our cohort who have masters, and like I haven't like personally dived too deep into why they've got it, but I think you are more than your grade, and I think the school here is looking at like who you are as a person. So if you get a master's, consider like how is that going to help you and your reason why. Elizabeth, throw your 2 cents, please.
I took all of my prerequisites for this program at a community college. I transferred into undergrad, Cal Poly, state school, only went for 2 years because I was a transfer student. So yeah, you can absolutely get in with like not a perfect 4.0. Don't waste your money on a master's unless you really want it. You do not need it to get into this program. Take time off if you need it. Go retake some classes at a community college if you would like, but just apply and write a bomb personal statement, and you could be surprised. This was my dream school. Never thought I'd get in, and here I am.
Awesome. Thank you guys about that. Yeah. So, be open. You don't have to be super like competitive. This one I want to ask as a last one before we close things off is, do you ever just want to cry when you're at grad school? We're getting a lot of yeses quite often. Was about to cry right now.
When we do want to cry, we have 48 other shoulders to land on. So not only that, we've got plenty of faculty as well. So I think feel free, let those tears fly, recoup, and get back to what you're doing.
Awesome. So thank you for that. Yes. So we are unfortunately running out of time. But however, someone did bring up a good point of asking, is there some way that we can form some kind of student mentor relationships? So I can't expand on this too much right now, but we are planning on some kind of mentorship program with UCSF. However, it's not fleshed out completely, so I can't give too many details on that. However, I will be doing a poll right now for all of our students here, and right about now, let's see. So just give an answer if you would be interested in a mentorship program partnered with a UCSF DPT student. Again, not much details yet about how it will go, as this is very much in the works, but just give us a good idea about if you guys are interested in being part of this.
Can I jump in here, Casey, real fast?
Yes, go ahead.
So Christian, I'm not sure if Shae answered your question as well, if you're looking for like those mentorships within the grad program or currently now. I agree, a mentorship program between undergrad and graduates is a phenomenal idea. I love that. Personally, I do this with any other panel that I sit in. I'll drop my email, and I am free for any of you all to really reach out and have questions with, to start having more consistent communications if that's something that you're looking for. I certainly offer myself up in that way, and I'm not asking anyone else to do that as well. But you have contacts here in this program, people that are wanting to talk to you and hear from you and build that relationship now. So yeah, please reach out to us.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that. So like for any of the DPT students who are like down to drop their emails and help out any of our students here, everything here is going to be recorded. So for any of the students, we will definitely be sending out this recording if you ever want to rewatch it. And again, we already have a lot of the DPT students putting in their emails. So feel free, because I feel like they're all very much willing to help out any any of you guys here and reaching your goals. So I think we are good.
Casey, I just really
yes.
want to mention really quick. I know it's getting to the point that we all need to go, but EIM is also looking for officers for things like this to happen. Casey and I are graduating this semester, so we're looking for officers to make things like this happen and more projects to come. So if you're interested, just drop an email at Henson I'll put it in the chat, and drop me an email because we are looking for officers and members to keep this going and more events, future events like this.
Yes, so yeah, we completely forgot to say about that. But yes, officers, we're looking for new ones next semester as we want to keep this club alive to get these collaborations going on. And if anyone's interested in receiving the recording for this Zoom meeting or just the chat and everything, every information, feel free to shoot Liam an email. His email is right there. I think you made a typo, Liam. Oh wait, .sfsu. So lhenson2@mail.sfsu.edu.
Oh
so,
yeah, sorry. It's
yeah.
I mean, as an SFSU student, you should.
Yeah, I mean, you should know that.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but we will have this readily available for anyone who's interested in having it. But thank you guys so much. Thank you to all of our DPT students for coming in here and taking the time to answer each and every one of these questions. We appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for the amazing help. I hope you guys have a great day. Hopefully it's going to be more sunny tomorrow. I don't know how it's going to be, but it's been freezing and I've been bundled up with my heater all day. So that's fun.
Real quick, I did want to just plug Liam and Casey's efforts. They've really been putting their heart and soul into making this a possibility. And it is a deeply rewarding experience to get involved in something like this from the get-go, which I highly recommend anybody who's expressing interest to put yourself out there. The experiences you get from just doing this alone you will carry with you for the rest of your life. And it's only going to make you a better person, a better professional, and give you a sense of, fulfillment that you didn't really think was possible if you kind of stayed in your comfort zone. I highly recommend everybody keep pushing. If you really want it, you'll get it, but keep pushing. Even if you stumble, even if you fall, pick yourself up and keep pushing. But we're really grateful for this opportunity to speak to you, to give you some sense of comfort and guidance as best as we can. Ultimately, it is an individualized process, so we wish you the absolute best of luck, but feel free to reach out if you need any help.
And lastly, as future officers, Casey and I and Fernando, Des, and the rest of the team will be here to help you. You're just not going to go in there blindly. We will be there to guide you and do great things for your community, for the club, and just for everyone. So yes, thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you for the shout out too, and Des and Fernando for working with us throughout this whole process. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for the experience.